Hey everybody, it's Rose. I wanted to talk to you all today about this amazing new app for transgender people called Plume. These two items here are my HRT prescriptions, and these are literally life-saving for me and so many other trans people. Hormone replacement therapy and medical transitioning, is not something that every trans person has access to, whether that be for finances or insurance or, lack of affirming like doctors or clinics or, places in the area. Plume is giving trans people access to healthcare like never before. I think this app is so incredibly accessible for anybody because you don't have to leave your house. All you need, is your own phone or computer. Get onto the website or download the app and you can get your affirming care. Plume is a month-by-month subscription service. It's $99 a month. I think this is incredible because this includes the cost of lab work and of a doctor visit, and you don't have to pay for any of that. You just have to pay for the one monthly fee. And then they'll send your prescription to your local pharmacy, which you can then use your insurance or pay out of pocket for your prescriptions. Plume also has an option for Black trans people who need a little bit of extra financial help and cannot afford that monthly payment. So I've been on HRT for 5 years, which is definitely a privilege that I am so lucky and so thankful for. So I take spironolactone, which helps, cancel out testosterone in my body. And then I use estrogen, which is a form of estradiol that I inject into my thigh. These two prescriptions have helped redistribute the fat on my body, soften my features, and make me feel and look more feminine, and I'm so thankful for them. In the early stages of my transition, I was so anxious to go out into public, especially before starting HRT, when I was still identifying and presenting femininely. I had so many anxieties, especially if, going into a doctor's office and not knowing if they would be affirming, not knowing, if I could start HRT. Like, I'll never forget those few months, that were just so uncomfortable for me. And I still have that anxiety the first time I go to a new doctor's office, especially, moving different states multiple times. Like, that has been so challenging for me. When I first moved to Oregon and when I first moved here to Arizona, it was very difficult to find a doctor who would prescribe me hormones because there's just not a lot of people who have any experience in it. I've had to educate doctors and healthcare providers on my needs and what medications I take, my dosages. I've had to step by step tell doctors exactly what I need in order to get it. And, if I were, someone who hadn't been on HRT yet and I was just walking into this new place, I probably would not have received, the care that I needed at the time. There have been multiple points in my own transition where I've been without insurance or where, I didn't have an affirming healthcare provider. And so that made it really difficult for me to get my hormones. Like, I've had to pay for lab work, for doctor visits, therapy visits, my prescriptions all out of pocket before. And the cost of all of that is very, very expensive without insurance or any outside help. So I'm gonna do my shot for you all. I'm gonna sanitize my hands first. If I don't talk about every single step that I do, I always get called out for not doing it. I sanitize my hands, I sanitize my injection site, I sanitize the estradiol bottle. Like, I do the steps properly. I just don't always show it on camera or talk about it when I'm doing it. So I have an alcohol swab. I'm gonna go ahead and sanitize my thigh where I'm going to inject. I'm gonna sanitize the top of the bottle where I poke the needle in. Sanitize my fingers with the alcohol left. So Plume is currently only available in specific states. They're working on expanding that to every state, but there's certain laws and regulations that they have to follow and kind of, figure out how they can be in every state still. Plume is also working on a program where they'll send your prescriptions to your house, which I think would be so beneficial, especially for those of us who use estrogen, because injectable estrogen has a national shortage right now. And so I don't know what the cost of that would look like, because I've been offered by different pharmacies to have my prescription of injectable estrogen shipped to the pharmacy, and it's always more expensive, or often they have to use the name brand and not what I usually use, which is much cheaper. And so I think that, this service could definitely help trans feminine folks injecting estrogen find estrogen much easier when there are shortages. Here's my beautiful little estrogen vial. I always flick out all the bubbles. I'm gonna talk through every step because y'all don't believe me that I do it. Get a little bit out of the needle first. Squeeze tight and pull, breathe, and poke. You know, no matter how many times I do this, there's still always a little bit of anxiety within me of doing this. I'm always a little bit hesitant or a little bit, you know, anxious about doing it because it's not comfortable. You know, it doesn't feel good to poke yourself with a needle, but it is so worth it. I'm so happy to be able to do it. And just like that, it's over. I wanted to thank Plume so much for, you know, inviting me to share my story and share, you know, what they're about, because I am so thankful that this exists. I wish this existed in the past when I didn't have insurance or when, you know, I didn't have a doctor. Like, this is such an incredible and helpful service. They plan on expanding and, you know, adding more services in the future, and I'm really excited about their ideas. You know, so definitely give them a follow, and, you know, if you need help, definitely reach out to them. I think it's just going to be so incredible for so many people. And, you know, the next time that I'm without insurance or without a doctor, you know, I'm definitely going to be considering using them.